Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. It's your boy Karagol Gaming. You know how we do things around here, man. Listen, this is chapter 7, arc 5. Last episode, Oishi ambushed Shion and Satoshi, and Shion revealed her true identity to Satoshi. So let's see where the story takes us this time around, alright? The cops were smart enough to separate us during questioning. Oishi didn't come talk to me. His aim was Satoshi-kun and nobody else. I got a young cop who just talked about ordinary things. He must have been trying to ease me into the interrogation. When I realized that, the clumsy way he spoke began to frustrate me. Is Satoshi-kun alright? I didn't think Oishi really bought my testimony. He must have been trying to get Satoshi-kun to confess in spite of that. All I could do was pray that he would keep quiet. The phone on the desk rang, and the cop picked it up.
はい、熊谷です。はい？ああ、そうですか。わかりました。すぐに。
He hung up and told me somebody had come to retrieve me. Looked like Satoshi-kun had to stay. Were they going to continue interrogation just because he had nobody to pick him up? Although, maybe I should have been worrying more about myself. The hag had probably heard about me by now since I revealed my real identity to the police. I couldn't hide any longer. I was going to receive some sort of punishment. I had no idea what she would end up doing to me. The degree of punishment for a traitor is always severe in the world of the Sonozakis. The punishment must be carried out. If it's to protect the family's reputation, it's carried out no matter what. Maybe I should kiss my pinky finger while I still can. I asked the young cop just in case.
ねえねえ、アメリカなんかでよく死刑囚が死刑廃止の州で捕まると引き渡さないでくれるっていう話あるじゃないですか。
ん?
Maybe it was too difficult for him. He just looked puzzled. A glossy black car was waiting for me in front of the police station. A few men from my dad's office bowed to me.
シオンさん、ご無沙汰しております。
葛西は？
Kasai had been helping me ever since my escape from the school. They wouldn't allow him to walk free.
お姉はどうしてるの？何か言ってる？
私たちはシオンさんを本家へお連れしろとしか言われていませんので。
Ah, shit.
詳しくは本家でお尋ねになってください。
After saying that, he escorted me into the car. A man sat on either side of me. Obviously, they didn't want me to escape. Thinking of Satoshi-kun, I looked back at the police station. Hold on tight, Satoshi-kun. I will grin and bear it too. The car started off roughly. It was never a good occasion when I went to this house. Except when Mion and I were really small, oblivious of what the Sonozaki name really meant for us. I had been here only when I had to attend boring family councils. The car parked behind the house. Traitors aren't allowed in through the main gate. I got out of the car, and it looked like Sis would be the only person to receive me. I almost spoke to her casually, but her cold gaze froze me before I could.
お久しぶりですね、シオン。新年以外に会えるとは思いませんでした。
It gave me the chills to hear her greet me in that cold
ミ
manner.
オン姉様こそご機嫌麗しゅうございます。新年以外にお顔が見れて3問くらいの得を感じます。
I responded, trying to sound likewise.
当主は大変ご立腹ですよ。どう釈明されるか見ものです。私がするような釈明なんて別にないですし。
I had no excuse. I had escaped from the school solely because I couldn't stand it there. That was all.
シオン、来なさい。皆待っています。
Define everyone. Who is everyone? Mion escorted me, and the others followed. We went to the garden, not into the house. Aw, shit, son. What the fuck are they gonna do to me? As we passed through the huge yard in the woods, I realized where she was taking me. When we were little, we were told to never go near these woods. I had a vague idea of what was in the back of them. I had heard there was a hidden entrance to the underground torture room where they used to punish the enemies of the family. The more hideous rumors I heard about the family, the more credible those rumors seemed. Well, I wasn't completely certain about any of that. I had never expected to see the torture room for myself. We came to a concave clearing in the middle of the woods. I saw a metal door at the bottom of it, and the door reminded me of a bomb
これ
shelter.
が噂の地下実験室ってやつですね。
I was surprised to hear my own voice. My voice was trembling. It made me realize that I was more scared than I thought. Nobody answered my question though. The air, the very air, felt tense. According to the family rules, one of the twins must be eliminated. Was I finally going to be eliminated? I realized I had been underestimating my punishment. I hadn't been aware of the real terror until now. I just thought I was. Beyond the steel door, the air had an intimidating smell. This really was happening to me. I shouldn't allow myself to give in to fear. I felt like saying something rude, but my lips were dry, and my fingers were fidgeting. I was escorted through the narrow hallway. And down a set of stairs. There, I saw another huge steel door. So this was the place. It was a spacious and utterly odd-looking room. The room had two sections that looked completely different. One side looked like a lounge. I saw several high-ranking members of the family council sitting on the cushions there, looking expressionless. The other half was tiled, as if in a large public bath. That was already puzzling enough. What is this quote-unquote music? It's like staticky. And there were those things. To be honest, they had captured my attention from the moment I arrived. I noticed them even before I saw the lounge and tiled space. I just didn't want to accept they existed. I couldn't stand straight. I almost dropped to my knees, but I couldn't. Two young men had been holding me by the arm since I got here. There were oddly shaped things hanging from the wall. I was just refusing to recognize what they were. I knew exactly what they were called. I see. I understood that those eerily shaped objects were torture devices from hell.
だほが
You too close, Grandma.
どの面下げて戻ってきた思うとっとと
Not by my own volition, y'all motherfuckers dragged me over here. The hag, sitting in front of the lounge, intimidated me in a horrid voice. She kept cursing me for a little while, but she was so incensed that I could barely tell what the fuck she was saying. I knew what she was trying to say though. The hag was willing to forgive my escape from the school, but once I revealed my identity to the police, she had to step in. Since I had disobeyed the family rule, she, as the leader, was forced to punish me. I forced her hand? Moreover, there was another thing that bothered her more than anything else. The fact that I covered for Satoshi-kun. The Hojo family had been seen as traitors to the village ever since the dam conflict. Satoshi-kun is still considered one of them. She couldn't accept that I was connected to him. To me, this was a bit unexpected. I had escaped from the school the hag had put me in. All the while, I had believed that's what she was upset about. But in fact, she said she was the most uncomfortable with my connection with Satoshi-kun. I couldn't believe this. Of course, I knew that Satoshi-kun's family was persecuted for their betrayal, but I didn't think that Satoshi-kun was also burdened with that responsibility.
そんなのサトシ君 関係ないじゃないですか。サトシ君の親はわかるとしても、サトシ君個人には何の責任もな。
しゃあらしいわ。
God damn. That thumbnail action? That's not too spoilery. The hag interrupted me with a shout, which made me cower in fear. She continued slandering the Hojos and said that Satoshi-kun was a cursed child. In her eyes, I should be a cursed child as well. I started feeling pissed off. What did he do to deserve this? What was he being blamed for? It was too late when I realized I had said that out loud. The hag looked furious. I had obviously upset her. I decided to repeat myself to make it very fucking clear how I felt.
ばあさん、あんた何言ってんの？黙って聞いてれば言いたい放題。
Damn, you called her hag to her face?
なんばねすったら口の利き。
やかましい！しまいまで聞きなよ、バカ野郎！
Damn. I shouted loudly to silence the hag.
だいたいあんたはサトシ君の何を知ってるの？サトシ君のことをよく知りもしないくせに、まるで彼を害虫みたいに言い捨てて。サトシ君がどんなにいい人か私はよく知っている。彼が北条だからいけないの？バッカみたい。時代錯誤も甚だしい。園崎の私が北条のサトシ君と一緒にいたのがそんなにも不愉快なの？くったらないくったらない、バッカみたい。こんな安っぽい色味処理を自分で体験できるなんて思わなかったな。
My voice became hoarse from all shouting. My face was messy with tears. Even so, I didn't feel like putting a stop to my emotional explosion. I was all too aware that I was doing this just to overwhelm my fear. The hag was just glaring at me while breathing heavily. I glared back at her as fiercely as I could. Eventually, I realized that her sticking point was my relationship with Satoshi-kun. She wasn't only upset that I had a mere connection with
そっ
him.
か。ミオンがそういう告げ口をしたわけか。
It was as though Mion was wearing a mask. She didn't budge under my penetrating glare. That was what the hag was really unhappy about. The fact that I was in love with Satoshi-kun.
確かに私、自分が園崎家だとか、サトシ君が北条家だとか、認めますよ、認めます。私は北条サトシ君が好きです。彼のことが大好きです。それっていけないこと？人が人を好きになるのに何か理由が必要？
Imagine if they make you kill your loved one. Woof. Wouldn't that be a punishment? I could see the relatives shaking their heads in turmoil. Among them, I saw my mom. She must have been trying to protect me. But even she wouldn't look at me. Instead, she looked silently at the
後
floor.
ろのあんたたちも聞こえてるでしょ？私おかしいこと言ってる？あんたたちだってサトシ君をよく知れば、彼がどんなに素敵な男の子で私が好きになるのがおかしくないことがすぐにわかる。なのになんで相手の人格も知ろうとしないで一方的に。
Mion held out a hand to silence me. Then she slowly walked in my direction.
もう結構です、シオン。あなたの言い分と覚悟はよくわかりました。
Mion put her head close to mine and whispered.
シオンの覚悟はよくわかったよ。でもここまで言い切っちゃったら誰にももうかばえない。シオンがけじめをつけてみせるしかない。けじめ？なんで私がなんでそんなバカな。シオン。
Mion's face turned cold again, and she calmly told me.
あなたの言う個人の理屈は多分正しい。でもね、あなたも理解していると思うけど、ここはHinamizawaで、私たちは園崎家なの。御三家の末席で、今や事実上のHinamizawaの筆頭家。そしてあなたは仮にも、園崎家次期当主である園崎ミオンの双子の妹。それが、
I interrupted her.
あんたとは、こっちに帰ってから、どうもそのあたりの話が食い合わないですね。 大人の事情みたいなことばっか。ひなみざわ、その先家。だから何？私はそんなの全然興味な。
Slap.
聞きなさい。
Mion interrupted me, just like I did her.
シオンは今日まで沖宮で生活するにあたってどれだけの人の世話になってる？
Chills shot through my spine.
葛西さん、奥の牢屋にいる。
Does he still have his pinkies?
なんで葛西が？
I knew why, of course. The moment I got caught, those who helped me were destined to meet the same fate. We were all subject to punishment of betrayal. Maybe my punishment would be lighter than what they would be going through. Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro must have been treated much worse than this. Everybody who helped me was falling victim.
シオンがどういう目にあってもお世話になった葛西さんや吉郎おじさんがどうなるかまでは考えが及ばない。
My head rapidly cooled down. My aggression was all used up. I should be able to bear whatever punishment they would bring on me, but I resented the fact that I would be putting the people who supported me at risk.
シオン、ばっちゃんに謝ってけじめをつけてみせればシオン一人だけの話で全部済む。誰にも迷惑をかけない。でもミオン、
No buts. Apologize. Right now.
私間違ったこと言った？
If you care, you apologize.
そんなにも悪いことした？
The moment Mion learned that I wasn't willing to apologize, her expression turned cold again. She turned her back to me and returned to the lounge. I had talked back to the hag in a really harsh manner. I had told her I didn't do anything wrong, yet I had involved many people who I owed so much. It went without saying that this was my responsibility. I was the sole person to blame, and no fault lay with them. Yes, Kasai and Yoshiro-san were blameless, just as Satoshi-kun was. But then, as if she read my mind, Mion turned around and gave a slight nod. It was possible that something was going to happen to Satoshi-kun, on top of Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro.
待って、おね。
That can't happen. Satoshi-kun, I mean, nobody else should be punished. Please forgive them.
何ですか、シオン。
Tears rolled down my cheeks. I no longer cared about my pride.
ごめんなさい。私が間違っていました。許してください、当主様。
I should have said what the hag wanted to hear. Yet, she still looked unsatisfied. Maybe that wasn't too surprising. I had just denounced her so badly in front of the relatives. She wouldn't forgive me so easily. Just then, Mion spoke as the successor.
ではシオン、どうやってけじめをつけるつもりです？けじめってどうすれば？
Nothing could be scarier than being told to pay up while standing next to horrid-looking torture devices. I was completely terrified. I couldn't move from trembling. Mion saw that and whispered to our grandmother. The hag nodded. Mion summoned some young minions and gave them an order. They removed one of the torture devices hanging on the wall, then set a table in front of me and put the device on top of it.
何これ？爪を剥ぐための道具です。
Oh?
使い方はわかります？わかるわけないでしょ。
I shook as I stared at the tool. It looked like a giant nail clipper. You probably put the part that looks like a beak between your finger and fingernail, pulling them apart if you squeezed at the handle. The chills ran up and down my spine when I imagined that.
爪1枚ずつでシオンがかけた迷惑のそれぞれのけじめとします。
So, 2, 3 fingernails?
園崎シオン、どの指でも構いません。自らの手で3枚の爪を剥がしてみせなさい。
3, one for Kasai, one for Uncle Yoshiro, and the last for Satoshi-kun. It was a fairly reasonable number.
本当にそれで他の人は許してくれるんですか？
I mean, but toes count? You know? Take each one from my pinky toes and like my left ring finger's nail? Yeah! That's fucked up, dude! I thought we were family, bitches!
約束して。私がちゃんと自分の爪を剥げたら他のみんなは許すと約束して。
これはあなたのけじめであって取引ではありませんよ。この方法が気に入らないなら。
Oh, imagine stubbing your pinky toe after. Oh no. I retract my statement.
やるから待って。待ってよ。やるから。やるから。
I put the device to my little finger while shaking badly. If my fingernail were shorter, it would have been harder. The metal bead captured my little finger beautifully. Hell nah. The subordinates then stabilized my left hand with a different restraining tool. That seemed reasonable because my finger would slip out if it weren't restrained like that. As the subordinates buckled up the leather straps, I realized that this was really happening, and there was no escape. Somewhere in my mind, I had been thinking that they might forgive me after just the gesture alone. I shouldn't have been so naive. The emotions I had been holding back appeared in the form of tears and kept rolling down my cheeks. It was like my feelings were being squeezed out until the very last drip. Something even more horrifying followed this. It was the silence that awaited my next action.
どうするの？
One of the subordinates pointed to the handle and told me to either squeeze it or hit it. He recommended the latter would be easier to make it quick. Nobody said anything after that. There was nothing to hear but the sound of my sweat dripping on the floor. The onlookers were staring at me silently, waiting for me to execute my punishment. Both the hag and Mion, they were also anticipating it. I could refuse, but that meant I wouldn't be paying up. This punishment exists to offer payment in exchange for the safety of those who helped me. If I refused, they would suffer. Alright, let's do a little bit of math. Like let's make some deductions here. Satoshi is gone after Keiichi comes in the picture, right? Which leads me to believe that she did not go through with this. Also, when we meet Shion in the previous arcs, none of the characters, especially Keiichi who met her for the first time, mentioned anything about missing fingernails. Now, I don't know if we saw Kasai. We saw one of the chauffeurs, but I'm not sure who that driver was now. Now, it could be that she goes through with this, but then she escalates the... Nah, that can't be the case, because I was wondering, like, maybe what if Shion took Mion... What if Mion took Shion's place? But that can't be the case, because I think we have seen them in the same scenario as well, same scene. So, let's see how it plays out. I started breathing heavily. I knew that if I did this, the others would go free. This was, if you thought about it, quite a good deal. If it weren't me, it wouldn't just be 3 fingernails. If it were Kasai, he would have to sacrifice his little finger or something even worse. I knew that. It was my selfish desire to get away from that school. Why did Kasai have to suffer because of that? I knew that. Why did Uncle Yoshiro have to suffer just because he provided me with a job? I knew that the hag and the other relatives still hated the Hojos. So I didn't know what they would do to Satoshi-kun if I didn't do this. Would they bring Satoshi-kun here and tell him to do the same? Would they tell him to remove his fingernails in exchange for forgiving me? He would do it. He would sacrifice himself with no hesitation in order to save others. My sweat dripped onto the table through my nose. I would do it. Yes. It was only 3 fingernails. It might hurt a lot, but I wouldn't die. The fingernails would grow back. It wouldn't even leave a huge scar. I shouldn't be afraid. Also, they would grow back? I mean, I'll take your word for it, motherfucker. The punishment was minimal because it was me. If I refused to do this, the others would be punished much more severely. I couldn't let that happen to Kasai, Uncle Yoshiro, or Satoshi-kun. I was the only one who should be punished. So I just needed to bear the pain. I wasn't just breathing heavily anymore. I was also moaning faintly, ready to scream at any moment. That's right, make it quick. This wasn't torture, so I didn't have to prolong the moment of pain. I should do it in one swift blow. That way, my pain and fear would be minimized. I raised my right arm. Quickly. The pain would be lessened if I did it in one stroke. It would be much more painful if I messed it up. I held my breath. I felt as if my body was frozen. I was choking. The chills crept up my spine. Don't be afraid, Shion. Fingernails are just a tiny fraction of the whole body, just 1 square centimeter. I could do this. I could bear it. I smacked my right hand onto the handle of the device. I sensed the noise through my body instead of through my ears. I sensed the noise through my body instead of through my ears. At the same time, I felt a pain I had never experienced before. A moment later, the pain pulsated with my heartbeat. I clenched my teeth. I felt my teeth were cracking. I tightly shut my eyes. Until my eyeballs got squeezed up. The pain wouldn't fade. Rather, it swelled up with my blood pressure. I felt as though it was bloating like a balloon. Timidly, I opened my eyes. I found that my little finger wasn't really drenched in blood. It was bleeding, but not much. Certainly not enough to explain how much it hurt. My fingernail was open, just like the hood of a car. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was overwhelming. It occurred to me that I had only done 1 out of 3. Did I have to repeat this 2 more times? Did I have to remove the nails from my ring and middle fingers as well? I looked at the hag begging for mercy, but they were just silently staring at me, as if the show had only just begun. I saw no hint of mercy in their eyes. They wouldn't be changing their minds. Since they said 3, it had to be 3. They wouldn't forgive me until I removed 2 more fingernails.
ミオこれでこれほら私の顔を見ればわかるよね本当にさ痛くて
Mion answered, still wearing a cold look.
シオン、もう無理。
She didn't mean that it was sufficient. What she meant is that the others would have to take the remaining punishment if I didn't. I knew that. I really did know.
やれるよこんなの全然楽勝だって
Wait, it's important. Who the fuck did I just free up? Did I save Satoshi or Kasai? If it's Uncle, I might have to do another finger. But if it's not Uncle...
この冷血動画こんなの怖くないこんなの痛くない
I quickly moved the metal beak and set it on my ring finger, and smacked it with no hesitation. Instead of making it quick, maybe I was just rushing out of fear. I had messed up. The torture tool had clipped just the tip of my fingernail. The pain, however, was equal. I couldn't believe I had only chipped it. So does this mean that you're unable to work on the same fucking finger now? So you gotta do it 4 times in total? Did I have to do it again? Did I have to continue removing the nail from my ring finger? That much pain? Again? Again?
シオン、
やだやだ
I couldn't bear it anymore. I started crying shamelessly.
もうやだやだもう無理なの怖くないこんなの痛くないごめんなさいごめんなさい謝りますから許してください
Sounds like Sataka.
ごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさいごめんなさい
They didn't seem to hear my voice. It felt as though there was an invisible barrier between us. They showed no mercy. They were just here to witness this ritual right here. So rather than sympathetic, they looked amazed by my screw up. Mion walked up to me and whispered to my crying
シ
face.
オン、あとちょっとだから頑張って。
やだやだやだやだ本当に無理本当に痛いの痛いの
Mion shook her head and then signaled the subordinates. They came from behind me. They covered my head with something like a knit cap. It was a blindfold. One of them pinned me in a Nelson hold, restricting my movement.
やめてよやめてよいや
I couldn't overpower the guy behind me. Then, I felt something strange on my left hand. The other guy was doing something with the torture tool. He put the metal beak between my ring finger and its fingernail.
助けてお母さんお母さん
My left hand was fixed in the restraints, so I couldn't put up much protest anyway. But even that left hand was pressed down by his rough palms until it hurt, robbing it of the freedom even to tremble. They had no hesitation. That's 3. It was made very clear to me how merciless people could be. Robbed of my vision, all I could do was clench my teeth against the pain assailing me. If there was anything I was thankful for, it was that he was well practiced and had ripped off both my fingernails cleanly. Pain and screaming might induce narcotic chemicals in the brain. While screaming, I started losing consciousness. Damn. I woke up. My memories were missing. I couldn't remember how I got back to my room. I held my head with both hands. My left hand was bandaged. The fingers that had their nails removed had swollen like hot dogs. I had paid with those 3 fingernails for what I did. The hag had said something after the punishment, but I didn't remember any of it. I was taken to a hospital in Okinomiya. The car shook on the way, adding extra pain on top of what I already felt. Somebody gave me some aspirin. They worked just like they said on TV. But they didn't last more than 10 minutes. I swallowed the pills without water. While I was spacing out in the waiting lounge, Kasai showed up. He probably came to check if I was alright. I obviously wasn't. He must have understood that from my bandaged left arm dangling from my shoulder. Kasai, on the other hand, looked just fine. At least on the outside. I was relieved that my sacrifice had meant something. Kasai didn't say anything. I couldn't tell if he wanted to tell me something or not because he looked so emotionless.
葛西
なんでしょ
He paused shortly before answering. I could tell he was upset. I didn't regret revealing my true identity in order to protect Satoshi-kun, but I hadn't wanted Kasai or Uncle Yoshiro to be hurt. I had been contradicting myself.
吉郎おじさんはどうなったか知ってます
ういいえ したたかな方です。ご無事と思います。後で謝られた方がいいでしょう。
I wanted to ask him about Satoshi-kun too. I wondered if he was captured or harassed by the Sonozaki family because of me. But I was hesitant to ask Kasai. Now what makes you think the Sonozakis was able to get to Satoshi before the cops? What makes you think they released Homeboy? After all, I had chosen Satoshi-kun over them. Was Satoshi-kun alright? I hoped he wouldn't get caught or incarcerated somewhere. I paid the hospital bill and Kasai gave me a ride home. I finally realized that somebody was knocking on my door.
シオンさん、横になり続けるのもやはり体に毒です。
It was Kasai. He put some side dishes on the table and we started nibbling at them.
気分は落ち着かれましたか？
落ち着いたというか、
この数日間はずっと伏せっていたんですか？
You just said it wasn't healthy to sleep so much, motherfucker. I've been sleeping for 19 hours a day.
食事はされていましたか？
冷蔵庫の中の残り物を適当に食べてました。あとは天井を見てるか眠っているかのどっちか。
Can you get me like a PS4 in this motherfucker? It had been 3 days. I had just been lying down since then. I woke up every now and then in my shallow sleep, but I didn't feel like getting up or thinking. I felt like I had just been floating the whole time. My appetite was gone, but it came back with the smell of the food Kasai brought. I wasn't able to think of anything to talk to Kasai about, so I just ate it silently.
昨日、ミオンさんから連絡がありました。シオンさんの部屋に何度か電話したけど、出なかったからということで。
The moment I heard Mion's name, I felt my wounds throb. But I didn't stop Kasai, who continued.
園崎本家としては、シオンさんがご自分でけじめをつけられたので、これで決着とするそうです。あの学園には退学届が出されます。シオンさんは沖宮の学校に編入になるそうです。
園崎シオンの人権が認められたってことか。
そうですね。今後は園崎シオンとして生活してくださって構わないそうです。ですが、みだりにひなみざわには近づかないこと、園崎ミオンを語らないこと、人前にみだりに姿を現さないこと、
What the fuck do
他
you
にも
mean?
細々とありますが、
Now,
詰まるところ、
what the fuck do you mean public places?
存在を認めてやるから、本家に目立つようなことは二度とするなってわけか。
そういうことになります。もちろん永続的なわけじゃありません。ほとぼりが冷めるまで当分ということです。具体的にいつまでという期限があるわけではありませんが、今年いっぱいくらいはこれまで通り目立たない生活を送られた方がよろしいかと思います。
私は沖宮でひっそり暮らすだけで十分です。もともとこれまでだってそうして暮らしてきたわけだし。
Kasai put on a sad smile. I smiled back at him likewise. Before the conversation ended, I should ask him what I wanted to know.
サトシ君はどうなったの？
Motherfucker, ask him how he was during that period he was incarcerated by the fucking Sonozaki family in a goddamn torture room. I wish that Kasai would assure me of his safety right away, but he didn't answer like that.
葛西、サトシ君は無事なの？
シオンさん、
Kasai put his chopsticks down.
本家から北条聡君のことは忘れろとことづかっています。
The family doesn't have control of feelings. Tell him fuck him. I'll sacrifice the rest of my fingernails.
何それ？
シオンさん、あなたと喧嘩はしたくないんで、これ以上この話はしたくありません。本家からの言葉を伝えるのみにとどめさせてもらいます。
何？その話をしたくないってのは葛西。
Kasai pretended as though he didn't hear me and started eating again. I had never seen him get so stubborn like this. The Sonozaki family had been using the Hojo family as a scapegoat. They must have concluded that the Sonozaki should not be in love with a Hojo. I didn't like that. Satoko is a friend of Mion's at school. Would it be okay if Satoshi-kun and I were the same gender? Anyway, if I did something conspicuous again, they might do something to him for real. Just like they forced me to remove my own fingernails. The Sonozaki family would not hesitate. They would torture him if need be. Maybe, if I really loved him, I should stay away. Satoshi-kun won't show up in Okinomiya unless he rejoins the Hinamizawa fighters. I would have to pretend to be Mion if I wanted to go to Hinamizawa, but I didn't think she would cooperate with me. Even if she did, it might be sometime down the road. Even if they told me not to see him, I already had no means of doing that again. Oh, wait. Mion gave me his number a little while ago. I could call him, and maybe ask to meet with him secretly. But if I got caught again, they wouldn't cut me any slack. Should I risk it? What the hell did I want from Satoshi-kun?
葛西、ちょっと一人になりたい。
Kasai started putting away his food in a rush, assuming that I wanted him to get the fuck out of here.
あ、いいの。葛西はのんびり食べてて。私がちょっと一人で散歩がしたいだけなの。
私もシオンさんと一緒に出ないとこの部屋に鍵がかけられません。
Kasai quickly put away his meal and followed me out.
あ、先に断っとくけど、別にサトシ君に会いに行くわけじゃないからね。
Idiot.
わかりました。
I turned around and started walking. My destination was rather pathetic. It was the toy store that sold the giant teddy bear. I couldn't deny that I was somewhat expecting Satoshi-kun to pass by there. I couldn't stop myself from looking at the faces of passers-by who resembled him. What if the teddy bear is gone now, I looked into the store's window. The teddy bear was gone.
サトシ君、おめでとう。変えたんだね。
His evil aunt had died and his wicked uncle was living with his mistress. Satoshi-kun succeeded in fulfilling his duty as a big brother by buying his little sister that huge teddy bear. Now, how much sense does this make? Well, a little bit of math. His evil aunt died, and his wicked uncle was living with his mistress, which means, essentially, that Satoshi and Satsuko are living alone. Now, would you use that 100k as a buffer? Or would you spend it on a goddamn teddy bear, knowing that you now had to look after your little sister and you guys had no means of income or any safety net as such, because nobody in the goddamn village likes y'all asses anyway? There was nobody left to hurt him. He was free from his tiresome efforts. He was completely free from pain. Oh, now, you naive little motherfucker. You think life is free from pain? Shit. Over time, he would retrieve his smile, and he would go back to being the Satoshi-kun I love. But I wouldn't be there with him. I heard a car honking. I didn't think it was honking at me first, but it was so persistent that I had to look up. The person waving at me from their car was Irie. He was waving at me all carefree, oblivious to my feelings.
園崎さん、ご無沙汰していますね。あ、ひょっとしてサトシ君と待ち合わせでしたか？
いえ、そういうわけじゃないです。
そのおもちゃ屋さんのショーウィンドウはサトシ君もよく覗いていましたからね。
You stalking him?
それでてっきりサトシ君との待ち合わせか何かかなって思っちゃいまして。
You're making a whole lot of conclusions from your little car there, brother.
いえ、たまたまここを通りかかっただけです。変えたみたいですね。サトシ君。
Irie seemed to know about the teddy bear as well. He smiled upon seeing its empty display space.
昨日がサトコちゃんの誕生日でした。きっとあのぬいぐるみでそれをお祝いできたと思います。
Must have.
じゃあもうサトシ君は無茶なアルバイトに精を出さなくてもいいわけですね。
そうですね。
サトシ君ってそのひなみざわファイターズ退部届とか出しちゃったんですか？
そんなもの出てたんですか？私は受け取ってませんよ。マネージャーの園崎さんは？
受け取ってないです。
誰も退部届を受け取ってないならしばらくして生活が落ち着いたらまた戻ってきてくれるんじゃないかなって思って。でもその時に園崎さんがいなかったらきっと悲しむだろうな。
Idiot teased me. He's a grown-up after all. He must have been trying to sound optimistic because he knew I was feeling a bit down.
園崎さんも落ち着いたらいつでもチームに帰ってきてください。あなたがいないとやっぱり寂しいですよ。園崎さんが帰ってきてくれたらぜひ女子マネージャーの制服をメイドさんな格好にしようと思ってまして。
I burst into laughter. Irie sure hadn't changed.
あ、そうだ。もう名乗ってもいいんだった。監督、今まで騙しててすみません。私、ミオンじゃないんです。シオンっていう双子の妹なんです。訳ありで、今までずっとミオンのふりしてきました。
双子の妹さんですか？
He was totally taken aback. I burst into laughter again.
そうです。園崎シオンと言います。園崎本家に嫌われてるんで、あまり堂々と暮らせる立場じゃないんですけどね。
知らなかったですよ。まさかミオンさんに双子の妹さんがいたなんて。
そりゃ全く同感です。
This motherfucker. Suddenly, a loud voice interrupted us. The voice sounded so mean and greasy, unlike Irie's. It was him, Oishi.
入江先生もこんにちは。先日は遅くまでありがとうございました。
いえ、何もお役に立てませんで申し訳ないです。
Who? It was obvious they hated each other. Irie whispered to me.
私はもうここを離れますが、一緒に車に乗りますか？お家まで送りますよ。
Irie figured that Oishi was after me, so he was giving me a chance to slip away. Looking at Oishi's face, it was clear that his focus was on me, not Irie. He probably intended to interrogate me until my testimony broke. I was sure I could talk my way out of it, but it would just be a waste of time.
そうですね。じゃあ監督、そろそろ行きましょうか。
ありゃ、お二人でどちらかにお出かけの途中でしたか？
ええ、チームの夕涼み会用に景品を探しているところだったんです。他にも行くお店がたくさんありますので、この辺で私たちは失礼します。
Irie bowed, and I followed suit. I had to admire how good he was at lying. He's a grown-up after all. Oishi seemed to know it was a lie, but he didn't have a warrant, so he couldn't stop us. I moved to get into Irie's car.
お怪我は大丈夫なんですか？園崎シオンさん。
I gasped when I heard that. See, I was suspicious. I paused as well, but I should have my left arm bandaged up, right? Yeah. Or hand, rather, sorry. It was unsightly, so I had kept it in my pocket. There's no way Oishi could have been able to see it.
可能さえしなきゃきれいに治りますよ。私も子供の頃は何度か爪を剥いじゃったことがありましたがね。ほら、きれいなもんでしょう。
How do you know it was my fingernail specifically, sir?
男の爪が綺麗でも気色悪いだけです。
Oishi scratched his head and chuckled. He's supposed to be one of the best cops in Okinomiya PD, and he knows about all the underground activities in the region. He must have heard about my payment from somewhere. Still, that happened in the secret basement of the Sonozaki's main house. I couldn't underestimate this guy's sources.
お見舞い、感謝感激です。じゃあ、もう行きますね。失礼します。
園崎シオンさん、私とコーヒーでも飲みに行きません？
Maybe sometime. We'll see. Bye.
はあ？何それ？私を口説いてんですか？
そういうことでもいいですよ。
That's creepy.
遠慮します。一日は有限にわざわざ退屈なことに費やすなんて馬鹿げてますから。
もう参ったな。じゃあこうしましょう。私とのおしゃべりが退屈になったらいつでも途中で帰っていいです。
Yeah, she's about to fucking two-step her way out of this fucking conversation.
引き止めません？そういう約束でどうです？
あんたが喋るのは勝手ですが、私は喋りませんよ。それをおしゃべりと呼べるかは怪しいですが。
ねえ、それで結構です。シオンさんは聞き役で結構です。私が勝手に一方的に喋るだけ。あなたはコーヒーでも飲みながら中年親父の独り言を聞き流してくださればそれで結構です。
Was being strangely persistent. It didn't look like he was trying to poke a hole in my statement. What would he even talk about? I got a bit curious, even though I was still skeptical.
監督、すみません。私、ちょっと大石のおじさまとデートに行こうと思います。
ミオじゃない。シオンさん？
I winked at him and told him not to worry. Irie didn't insist. He got in his car and drove off. Oishi backed his car up so I could get in. I hopped in the back seat since I didn't want to sit right next to him.
本当に喫茶店に行くの？
No.
あなたの親類の目がない喫茶店があるなら？
それなら勝手に連行でも何でもすればいい。
Oishi carefully checked for oncoming traffic and then started driving. Oishi took me to the police station, as I thought he might. If he had taken me to a nice cafe, he would have scored some points. But whatever.
書の方が都合がいいと思ったから書にしただけです。私の話が退屈になったら帰っていいという約束は。
私を退屈させないように頑張ってくださいな。署内には腕組んで入ってあげましょうか、おじさま。
Oishi chuckled and got out of the car. He escorted me inside the station. I thought he would take me into an interrogation room, but instead he took me to an office of the investigation division. Officers in both suits and uniforms were working at their desks, answering phones. There was a desk with a plate that said section manager, and nearby there were couches on the table. Oishi told me to sit on the couch and started making some instant coffee. I had never been to this part of the police station, so I looked around in curiosity.
まさか取調室でカツ丼でも食わされると思いました？
Oishi brought over a tray with coffee cups on it.
想像してたより待遇が良くて驚いてます。おしらすに直で正座くらいは覚悟してたのに。
そういうのは私の趣味じゃないな。
で、おしゃべりを聞かせてくれるんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
じゃあ最初からいきなり単刀直入に。シオンさんって北条聡さんのこと好き？
はあ？速攻退屈なんで即帰りますよ。
じゃあ今のはなしということで。
Oishi must have known why I had to remove my fingernails. He wasn't trying to confirm that I liked Satoshi-kun. What he was really saying was that he already knew.
サトシ君の事件当日のアリバイなら先日熊谷刑事さんに全部お話ししたつもりです。
もちろん私も熊谷君の調書は読んでます。あなたがサトシ君と一緒にいたことは知ってます。
何度聞かれたって同じ話しかしませんよ私。しつこく反復して聞いたらそのうちにボロを出すとか考えてるなら大甘もいいとこです。
まさかそんなこと考えてません。
So what the fuck is it that you want?
あなたは頭のいい人です。そんな手に引っかかるなんて思っちゃいません。
ならどういう手を考えてるやら。どちらにせよ私からサトシ君のことを何か聞き出そうとしても先日お話しした以上のことは何もありません。ああ残念。やっぱり退屈な話でしたね。私帰らせてもらいそういう約束でしたからね。失礼します。
I got up off the couch.
シオンさん 確かに私はあなたからサトシさんのアリバイを聞こうと思っていました。それは認めますよ。
なら決まりです。やっぱり退屈でした。帰ります。
I turned around and started walking. Oishi didn't get anxious, but instead spoke a little louder.
でもね、シオンさん。私が聞きたいのはサトシさんの事件当日のアリバイじゃない。昨日のアリバイなんです。
昨日？なんで昨日のアリバイなんかが聞かれるんですか？昨日のサトシ君のアリバイがおばさんが殺された事件とどう関係があるってんです？
昨日サトシ君が出かけたまま失踪されたからです。
What?
サトシ君が失踪されたことはご存知なかった？
Who reported that he's a missing person? Was it Satoko? I couldn't say anything, but my expression answered Oishi's question anyway.
どういうことですか？失踪って何？
やっぱり座ったらどうです？
サトシ君が失踪したって何？
一つ確実に分かっていることは、彼が3時前に沖宮の郵便局で貯金を全額下ろしているということだけです。その後の足取りはつかめません。
I knew why he withdrew that money. He wanted to buy Satoko's birthday present. Yeah, he definitely bought that teddy bear yesterday. Okay, there is an easy way to verify this. Go back into the store and confirm that Satoshi was the one who bought that teddy bear. And at what time? Because I'm pretty sure they keep track of that stuff. You know, one receipt for the customer, one receipt for them.
これは私の想像ですよ。
It has to be registered somewhere, you know?
彼はひょっとしてそのお金でどっか遠くに蒸発したんじゃないかなって。
逃走資金だってんですか？バッカバカしい。
Hey, it's easily verifiable. Just do what I said.
あのお金はね、サトコの誕生日プレゼントを買うためにサトシ君が貯めていたんです。それであのおもちゃ屋にあったでかくて高いぬいぐるみを買ったんです。逃走に使うお金になんかなるわけないです。
確かにあのおもちゃ屋から一番高いぬいぐるみが売れていました。でもね、それをサトシ君が買った確証が取れないんです。
店の人に聞けばそんなのわかりますって。私とサトシ君で買う予約までしてるんですから。
I had a bad feeling. That old man who was watching that store was sleeping when we were there. He had looked very senile. Maybe he was also watching that store on that day, and even though Satoshi-kun bought the teddy bear, he didn't remember. Oishi put on a wry smile. It looked like he had already tried to question that old man.
とにかくあれを買ったのはサトシ君なんです。サトシ君はぬいぐるみの金額ギリギリしかお金がなかったはずだから、ぬいぐるみ代を支払ってさらに逃亡資金を用意できたなんて思えません。めちゃめちゃもいいとこです。
いいですよ。じゃあサトシ君がぬいぐるみを買ったことでもいいです。じゃあそのぬいぐるみを持ってどうして帰らなかったんですか？
He got jumped. At that point, I felt as though my heart had turned to ice. Satoshi-kun had already been working hard to buy that teddy bear, and even though he was under extreme mental and physical stress, after all that, he finally managed to buy it. It's unthinkable that somebody else just showed up and bought the same teddy bear. That teddy bear was gone because Satoshi-kun bought it, nobody else. But if so, Satoshi-kun should have given it to Satoko. But though he bought a present for her, he didn't come home. He didn't come home? That was impossible. He would have gone straight home with that teddy bear. He wouldn't think of running away after buying the teddy bear. Even though Satoshi-kun wanted to run away from the police, he would never leave without giving Satoko her present. Anyway, it must have been Satoshi-kun who brought that teddy bear. Say teddy bear one more time, motherfucker. I can say that 100% certainty. The question was why? Why did he not bring it home? That teddy bear was huge. It wouldn't fit into the basket of a bicycle. He might have brought some straps to tie it to his bike. He wouldn't have thought of running away on a wobbly bicycle like that. He necessarily had to go home after buying the teddy bear from the store after withdrawing the money. Nothing could have happened when he was going to the ATM in the toy store, alright? Nothing could have happened when he was going between the ATM and the toy store, alright? It was impossible. Nobody else could have possibly bought that teddy bear. Never. That teddy bear had been sitting in the showcase up until that day. Everybody could see it when they passed by, but nobody wanted it. It's impossible that it could have been somebody else. There should have been no question that he went to the toy store after he withdrew the money. Okay, but what about the route between the toy store and his home? There shouldn't have been any question there either. He shouldn't have been able to do anything with that huge toy. He shouldn't have even thought of making a stop on the way. So he must have headed home right after he bought the teddy bear. But nobody saw him after that. It was simple then. Satoshi-kun went missing on his way from the toy store. He went missing? What did that mean? I was sure he killed his aunt. He's not that shrewd. Maybe he couldn't bear the pressure from the police? Was he resigned to the idea that the police were going to arrest him soon, regardless of my help? Did he decide to run away? Did he think that he should disappear until things cool down, rather than get arrested? That was definitely absolutely impossible. It was impossible that he came to that conclusion on his way home from the toy store. Even if he did, he would have waited until he gave Satoko her birthday present. Satoshi-kun loved Satoko. He shouldn't have spoiled her like that. But anyway, he always tried to be a good brother to her. So he would never disappear before going home. I felt as though ice was cutting through my heart, expanding the frost. That's bright, bitch. If Satoshi-kun didn't disappear by his own will, the answer was simple. Satoshi-kun disappeared by somebody else's will.
サトシ君が消された。バカバカしいです。やっぱり退屈な話ですよ、おじさま。
I thought I could shake off the frost in my heart if I laughed. I thought I could shake off the frost in my heart if I laughed loudly enough. I kept laughing until it happened. I kept laughing and laughing. All the cops in the room stared at me. They thought I had gone crazy. I didn't care what they thought. I kept laughing until it turned into a cough. I finished laughing and then took a sip of my lukewarm coffee. I felt as though the frost in my heart had spread all throughout my guts. I was chilled to the bone. I was freezing. My fingers shook as I held a cup of coffee.
シオンさん、ちょっと口を挟まずに聞いててほしいんです。
Tell me what you know.
これから私がちょいと想像した話を申し上げます。全部でっち上げです。だからきっとシオンさんはあまりのいい加減な内容に吹き出しちゃいそうになるかもしれません。それでも最後まで黙って聞いていてほしいんです。約束してもらえます？
Get to it, dude.
いや、約束なんて何でもするから。早く言いなさいよ。
I was feeling far too cold. My teeth were chattering. I felt as though my brain had frozen as well. I lost my ability to think. I couldn't do anything by myself. I could only do as Oishi told me. What he was going to tell me might be the worst possible theory. But I had to listen to it.
死んだおばがサトシ君とサトコさんをいじめていたことはよーく聞いています。
Okay.
中でもサトコさんを執拗にいじめていたこともね。その中でサトシ君が妹をかばうためにおばに殺意を募らせていったとしても、私は人として自然な流れだと思います。
Right. I had to deny that Satoshi-kun murdered her, but what Oishi was saying was true. I couldn't deny his hypothesis right away, so I just kept silent.
ここからは空想ですよ。
Yes, motherfucker, go on.
絶対に怒らないでください。
I'll be upset if I want. You just keep talking.
口を挟むのもなし。いいですね。
Shut up!
分かってるから早く続けなさいよ。
北条聡は叔母殺しを計画し実行した。ねえ、もちろん証拠なんてありませんよ。
Okay.
全部私の妄想です。
Yep.
分かってるって。あんたの妄想なのは百も承知。だから早く続けて。
ここで話は変わります。
What?
シオンさん、あなたはサトシ君との交際を禁じられたんですよね。
Huh. Who told you this? And if you had to reason as to why do you think that would be?
もう忘れろ。二度と関わるなと念をされたんですよね。
Who are they?
それは実は不仲な両家の関係を意味嫌ったからでなく、殺人犯と園崎家の令嬢が恋仲であることに問題があったんじゃないかと思ったんです。
That is actually possible. After all, when I was pretending to be Mion, I already had a connection with Satoshi-kun. Before anyone knew it was Shion who was spending our time around him. I could have been accused when I was helping the Hinamizawa fighters if the relationship between the Hojos and the Sonozaki was the problem. It wouldn't be difficult for the Sonozaki family to know that Satoshi-kun murdered his aunt if it happened in Hinamizawa. Maybe one of them even saw the murder. The Sonozaki family didn't like that I was in love with a murderer. They decided to step in.
あと、あなた諦めが悪いことでも知られてるんじゃないですか。
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry to like pause it, but the Sonozaki family didn't like that I was in love with a murderer? What the fuck do I care what a bunch of torturing fucks think about me?
つまり園崎本家にサトシ君との縁を切れと脅されて爪を剥がされてもサトシ君との縁を切りかねていましたよね。
I couldn't deny that. I lost most of my means to access Hinamizawa, so my ties to Satoshi-kun were essentially cut. True. But I still knew Satoshi-kun's phone number, and I expected him to rejoin the Hinamizawa fighters eventually.
園崎本家はサトシ君とあなたの縁はちょっと脅しただけじゃ絶対に切れないと分かっていたと思います。あなたをいくら脅してもどうにもならない。じゃあもう一人の方をどうにかするしかないですよね。
どうにかって何？
I mean, it makes sense.
どうにかって何よ？何？
If threatening me was useless, then they would do something about Satoshi-kun. He's manipulating fucking Shion. What would they have done? If they pulled something, then wouldn't that interrupt his path from the toy store to home? Toy store to home? Toy store to X to home? What's X? What is X? X marks the spot where his path was interrupted. But what interrupted it? Why couldn't Satoshi-kun make it home from the toy store if something interrupted him? Why? What's X? X. I had too much fun with that. I ran out of air, became dizzy, and then collapsed. The floor felt colder than a motherfucker. I felt no pain. I had fallen to the floor like a plastic doll. Oishi and some others rushed over to me and helped me up.
落ち着いてシオンさん。
That doesn't count as an interruption, by the way. I just fell.
サトシ君が殺されたとはまだ限りません。
You're not certain he was killed? What the fuck are you talking about? Don't you know about that torture room where they forced me to rip off my fingernails? Sing, little birdie. Go on. Don't you know that they say there are prison cells and a well for disposing of corpses in the back? If the Sonozaki family wants to eliminate somebody, they would definitely kill them in that torture room and dump the body down there. You're not certain? Are you dumb? Is your brain made of tofu? If I were in the hag's position, I would kill him for sure. I wouldn't let him get away. If I would kill him, then the hag would definitely kill him.
シオンさん落ち着いて。 これはまだ未確認情報ですが、名古屋駅で家出人風の若者を見たという情報が入っています。
Who?
東京行きの新幹線に乗ったそうです。服装の特徴などが一致しませんでしたが、警察の追跡等を意識して衣替えをしている可能性もあります。服装が違うからサトシ君でないとは言い切れませんよ。
生きてるのサトシ君。
ここからもまた私の想像になりますがね、あなたの双子のお姉さんのミヨンさん、次期当主ということで園崎お涼の身近にいますよね。園崎お涼はおそらく最初はサトシ君をこっそり殺してしまおうと提案したと思います。それをあなたのお姉さんが止めたんじゃないかと思うんです。
Mion? That was possible? She could have tried to calm things down out of pity for me. That idiot was always so indecisive. She should have been clear on if she wanted to save him or not. But she probably seemed vague about that too. She must have persuaded the hag to reduce the punishment to banishment instead of death, just to avoid feeling guilty.
おそらく園崎本家はサトシ君と接触したでしょう。今回の事件はかばいきれない。だから自分の身は自分で守るために、いや、強要したと言った方が似合うでしょうね。
サトシ君は絶対拒否すると思います。だってあのサトシ君が妹を一人残してHinamizawaを
私もそう思います。確かサトシ君は園崎美音さんの紹介でバイトをしてましたよね。だからサトシ君に逃走資金になるまとまったお金があることを知っていたと思います。
でもサトシ君はそのお金をぬいぐるみを買う以外には絶対に使わないはずです。
でしょうね。サトシ君は貯金を下ろしたら迷うことなくおもちゃ屋に向かうでしょう。でもサトシ君がおもちゃ屋にたどり着くと、もうぬいぐるみが売れてしまっていてなくなっていたら。
That would have been a very desolate situation. He had been working hard. While his aunt abused him, he worked at many different jobs. The money was worth all that pain. He went to the toy store with that money in order to buy his beloved sister a present. That was the only purpose for that money. Okay. So let's ponder on the fact. Let's theorize that the teddy bear was sold when he got there, right? Why wouldn't you use that money to take Satoko with you? Bring her with you. Just skip town. Take her with you. He must have looked for the teddy bear as he had always done. But it was gone. He wouldn't have gone into a panic right away, because he was always so optimistic. He might have thought the store was wrapping the gift for him because he told them that he would pick it up that day. He must have gone into the store joyously. I couldn't guess exactly what happened next. My heart would tear up if I tried to imagine it anyway. Why didn't they have it, even though he had it reserved? Did that old man understand the situation, or was he just zoning out? Maybe it would have been the same if it wasn't that old man who was at the store at the time. If a bunch of fierce-looking subordinates from the Sonozaki family went in and showed them the money, nobody could have rejected it. Satoshi-kun must have sunk into silence. No matter how hard he complained, the teddy bear was gone. He probably never even considered that his dream might be taken away. He must have been wobbling his way home in sorrow, leaning on the telephone poles every now and then. It was the day he wanted Satoko to be happy the most. He couldn't get the present she wanted the most. He probably didn't think of getting another gift, because it was unimaginable that he couldn't get that teddy bear. I don't know about this line of thinking. So, Satoko couldn't get the gift that she wanted the most, so instead, the person that she loves the most, her sole brother in the world, steps out of her life, abandons her? When does that start making sense? He might have imagined how Satoko would react when she found out he had no present for her. He must have looked unbelievably sad and empty. The money he had been saving meant nothing anymore. It means you can keep on living a somewhat normal life until you buy yourself some time with that money. What the fuck do you mean it doesn't mean anything anymore? Satoshi-kun never cried, even at his toughest moments. I'm pretty sure the motherfucker cried. Did he even know how to cry? Shut the fuck up, Shion. It was always Satoko who was crying. So Satoshi-kun never learned how to cry, and he grew up that way. Did you know? People shed sadness from their hearts with tears. Satoshi-kun wasn't even allowed to do that. Even though his heart was filled with sorrow, he couldn't let it out.
妹を一人残してHinamizawaを離れられないと言いましたね。でももしも園崎本家が残った聡子さんの面倒は見るって言ってあったとしたらどう思います？
After Satoshi-kun found out the teddy bear was gone, all he had left were some crumpled bills. The family told him that it was just a matter of time before the police got to him. They told him to run away. I don't know about this. They said they would take care of Satoko. Satoshi-kun didn't feel like seeing his sister. Excuse me? He wandered and found himself at Okinomiya Station. He must have been apologizing to Satoko so many times in his mind. He swore to come back someday. He headed to Nagoya and then to Tokyo. But that meant he's alive. He is alive. I should be able to see him again someday. He must be coming back, so I'll definitely see him again.
そうしてずっと遠方に隠れ家か受け入れ先を用意してくれたんじゃないかと思います。サトシ君はそこを目指したのでしょう。
じゃあ無事なんだ。
Hey, stop sounding so relieved, or it's just a hypothesis, eh?
いつか帰ってくるんですよね。
You don't know. Oisha looked up at the ceiling and stretched. He didn't answer me. On June 24th, 1982, Satoshi Hojo went missing. There is a possibility that he ran away, as he was the prime suspect of the murder that happened on the 20th of the same month. Allegedly, someone resembling him was seen at Nagoya Station embarking on a train headed to Tokyo, but the truth is unknown. No one has seen him since. As a matter of fact, no one even knows if he's still alive. So wait, he took the train from Okinomiya to Nagoya, and from Nagoya to Tokyo, that's where they saw him? How would word get back to Okinomiya and Hinamizawa that he had been spotted? Like, who would... I don't know. Let's see what we got. The information that Satoshi-kun might have headed to Tokyo hasn't been verified. It started as follows. A young man came to the lost and found window looking for his wallet. The station employee asked him to write down his name on the form. Then, the young man started writing Hojo as his name, but he stopped in the middle, crumpled the form, and wrote a totally different name on another form. Another station employee witnessed a similar-looking young man rushing into the train station heading to Tokyo. The employee from the Lost and Found, and the employee who was on the platform, talked about the suspicious young man in the locker room. That was all. The wallet of the man named Hojo was never reported as found to the Lost and Found office. I fucking butchered that. Okay. At first I thought Oishi's theory that the Sonozaki family banished Satoshi-kun from Hinamizawa and looked after Satoko in return was bogus. But thinking about it now, it doesn't seem too far-fetched. After all, Satoko Hojo started living with Rika Furude after Satoshi-kun's disappearance. Rika Furude wasn't just a regular girl. She was the head of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. The head of the Kimiyoshi family is Rika Furude's guardian. The Sonozaki family probably couldn't step in due to having been officially opposed to the Hojo family. But Satoko Hojo is in custody of the 3 families now. Even though the Hojo family was severely ostracized during the dam conflict, Satoko Hojo was now under protection. It seems as though only Satoko was exempted from blame. Why was she spared, even though Satoshi-kun wasn't? It's a good question, because she snuck into the ritual room or ritual building. She should have been cursed. I'm pretty sure she is cursed. Either way, that's gonna have to be it for this very long episode. Next episode, I wonder where we're gonna take things, because I can't see any other scenario other than Shion trying to take things into her own hands and playing detective by sneaking into Hinamizawa and asking for whereabouts of Satoshi-kun, maybe even track Satoko down to get some information. But I feel like we're gonna get some major answers in the next chapter of this arc. We'll see. Until next time, which will be probably tomorrow or on Monday if this happens to be on a weekend, but I shouldn't break the time frame like that. I'll see you guys next episode, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm out of here. Love y'all and deuces.